Alright, we're ready for our next session. We have 4 more for today, and let's welcome Konstantinos from Facebook. Applaud as if there are like 1,000 people in the hall. Good.
It's tough to compete with food, especially because I saw the food and I'm like, okay, maybe it'll take a while for people to come over. So for the non-Greek speakers, you can call me Costa if there's anyone in the audience that is not Greek, because my name is not the easiest. Other than that, you can call me Konstantinos. I was hoping that my voice wouldn't be gone, because yesterday, for those that are Greek, I went to a football game, so I was like, and we won, so that was great news. I'm here to talk to you about how to successfully promote your PC and console games through our platform. Welcome, please sit in the front so I don't feel very lonely. Very good. Cool. I'll give you a bit of the background from my side, just to understand why I'm very passionate about what I do and why I really love talking about this topic. I work in the gaming team in EMEA. In Facebook we have a dedicated team that is exclusively focused on games. Both on the one side we have the platform relationship, and on the other side, which is my side, is more of the promotion, the ads. We have 3 teams there. The one is the console team, which is the one I'm representing today. There's the real money gaming team, think of gambling, which is normally what I do. And then there's the mobile game, which is something that if you're interested and you want to talk to me after, I'll be around, so please let me know. I started my career around the age of 14, which is an unusual and sometimes kind of violates the child labor laws. But what I was doing back then, I grew up in Athens, so I was working as a reviewer for video games. So imagine being 14 and getting paid to play video games. That was a dream. I continue to play games. I really love console games, and that's why I'm here today to speak about. What I also love is Facebook, and I'm gonna let you know more about how we think of gaming within the company. For those of you, most of you probably know Facebook because you're on the internet, and we have around 2 billion people visiting Facebook every month. What you might not know is we have other platforms as well. So the little logo there is Instagram, which has 800 million users on a monthly basis. And it's one of the most rapid platforms that is actually every 100 million people that we add the last few months is faster than the previous. If you know, most of you probably have apps and you know how hard it is to start getting users and having that at an increasing pace is something that is really rare. And this is the one that most people probably won't know what it stands for and how it looks like. This is audience network. So the idea came as this. In Facebook we have so much rich data and so much things that we know about our users that we're like, wait a minute, what if we expand this to other websites and other apps and other platforms? So audience network has essentially around 1 billion users, and those could be users of other apps like Huffington Post, BBC Radio, anything like that, where we basically they use our technology to know which interests the users have, and allows them to target actively those users within another family of apps. So they collaborate with us to make sure that they have the best targeting options available. Now, we're very passionate about gaming, and this is because our founder, Mark, he really loves games. When the new Civilization came out, he took actually a day off to make sure that he plays it first, and he was actually within Facebook posting a lot and creating like a kind of a internal LAN network about Civilization. So we're really passionate about gaming, and whenever we have a meeting, he's always there to make sure that he is caught up with the latest developments. And he attends as many meetings as he possibly can. And the reason is because if we take all our users, which is, as we said, 2 billion users, 800 million people, they either play Facebook connected games or they are somehow related to the chatter that occurs within those. So this means that essentially almost half of the people that are on Facebook are connected somehow with games. Now, what's really important is also to understand how much time that takes. 15% of the people that go on Facebook.com, they spend their time playing games. They spend, whether that's through our old, let's say, desktop solution, which is Canvas, whether that's through mobile and Games Room and instant games, they still spend a lot of time in doing what they love most. And just to understand a bit of the extent of how many people talk 36 million people just alone in April. They were speaking about games, they were engaging with games, they were seeing the latest videos. And I don't know if you have a PlayStation or an Xbox or anything like that. You probably know the sales, there will be around 70 or 80 million for PlayStation. And you can see here 30 million people have connected their Facebook account and are connected also with either Live or the PlayStation Network. And that is huge because that means that when they want to share anything related to gaming or when they want to connect around their favorite games, they do that a lot of times through Facebook. The amazing thing and the reason why I moved from, you probably know and you've probably heard of a search engine company before, and that was my previous job. I can tell you it was not Yahoo or Bing, it was a big one. But the reason why I moved is the depth of data that we have. And this is in parallel to any other platform that exists. We know, for example, the exact age where gamers are playing. And what is really, really exciting is, as you would imagine, of course, it's the younger generation that is connecting and talking more about games. And that's exciting because that's going to be the next generation coming up. There are going to be a lot more gamers in the platform. What I want to kind of also, I don't like the stereotype that only men play games, and that's why at Facebook we do a lot of events around women in gaming to make sure that the characters are representative of women. There's a lot of initiatives around game developers are women, so there's a lot of things, and I think that's the important thing. Whenever I talk with a lot of game developers, they don't even think of that segment. They're like, oh yeah, it's only, who are you going to target? We're going to target male 18 to 35. And while there is a majority of people that are actually male, there's actually 24% are actually women gaming. So I think it's really, really important to not under-recognize this very important segment. And also, what is really interesting is also the games that they play. Because sometimes we don't, yes, probably they won't play FPS on a daily basis, but there are about 10 to 15% of women actually are FPS gamers, which is really, really interesting. So I think I wanted to show you this because it's the breadth of data that we have on a day-to-day basis to work out, to find out who you can target, exactly know who is going to be that you need to address as an audience. This is just a review of what we did. We did an analysis, and you can see what people are talking about is different from what you would normally expect. Obviously, in console, this is targeted on console and PC, but you can see that this genre kind of dominates. So you have the hardcore communities around esports, where there's like League of Legends or Dota, which I'm sure most of you know. And on the left side here, there's a lot of people playing right now while I'm talking. But then we also have the casual gamer with Pokemon Go and Clash Royale, and obviously the new hit, which is Overwatch. So it's an industry that always changes. There are some constant games that are always played, like Dota 2, which is quite an old game, but there's always the newcomers that come in, and on the year they grab that attention. It's a very dynamic industry, keeping those old games like GTA, which is still one of the best games out there and still sells like crazy, but also like allows newcomers to kind of innovate. And what is interesting as well is when we think of gaming and console, we immediately think of the US as the biggest market, Japan, Asia, like those markets. But you can see, for example, the Philippines, they're actually talking a lot about games, and it's a market that almost, I would be very surprised if anyone in the audience is actually targeting that as a market. This is from last E3, and it's kind of, we see is the chatter that we see. So we have 50+ million people all over the world without being present, actually being super hyped and talking about E3. And whether that's like anything that comes as a new game, Facebook allows you, it's a unique place where it allows you to actually be there and be part of the conversation, although you don't have to travel to California. So you can see that it was a local event, but what happened was there was a conversation all over the world, with most of it happening in the United States, UK, but you can see there was a truly global conversation. So through Facebook, you're allowed to kind of cross those borders and make all this content available globally. And those are the games, for example, in the UK that were the top 5 this year. Unfortunately, FIFA is #1. It's a game that I play. I'm not very good this year, so that's why I'm a bit angry about it. But the rest, you can see there's a lot of fresh IP, things that were not there, like State of Decay, Sea of Thieves. So it's an industry that's very fast-moving. It has the franchises like Assassin's Creed always being there, but it has a lot of different opportunities. But here is just the UK, and you can see that out of the 40, there are 3 million people talking about a single game
on that week that it actually happened. So it allows you to actually have that interaction although you're not there. We're doing a lot on the gaming field, and we're doing a lot because we believe in the sense of community. Our new mission is to bring the community together, and gaming community is one of the most important ones. The reason is, through games you have fun, you enjoy, and it's actually a positive, it's a very positive community. While normally you would have like, I don't know, news and horrible things happening around the world, gaming is actually the one thing that is quite nice, and people feel happy, and we want more of that on Facebook, and that's why we place so much importance to it. So we have a new product called Live. I don't know if you tried it, but actually it is something that has worked phenomenally the last year that it came out. And we do a lot of partnership nowadays, and one of them was with IGN. So whether we were in E3 or Gamecoms or wherever even if you were not, you were able to see all the action that was happening and all the newest games through our live stream. We invested a lot, and we're going to see a lot more of those initiatives happening in the future. This is an example where we had the discussion with Phil Spencer around the kind of the future of Xbox, where they see in games in E3, and then the new Assassin's Creed that looks quite nice, a discussion with their developer around how it works. So we do a lot of those, and we're going to see a lot more of those initiatives, and a lot more of those groups where you can talk about games, communities, and how Facebook will play a role in this. Now we're moving kind of to a philosophy of what we do on my kind of daily basis, and how we think of gaming and how you can kind of raise your game. We have 4 pillars that we think are really, really important when you're trying to promote your game. The first one is to identify what is your audience. If you don't know who you're talking about, then you cannot have a meaningful conversation. The second one is, once you've run the analysis, you find out which the users are, you need to engage with them. You need to find out how is the right way to talk to them. And once you do that, and you find that this messaging works, you need to find similar users and amplify that. And finally, the reason why I'm in this company is because I believe in everything that we do either works, or we measure it, doesn't work, and then we find a way that it eventually works. But that is through measurement, and that is the really, really key piece that I think is essential, and it's very unique to our platform. Obviously unique to digital as well, but I think as a platform we're very uniquely placed to tackle this. First of all, we're going to talk about identifying who your users are and the solutions that we have there to do that. We did this in the UK. We have a team that is called Creative Shop, and basically what they do is they partner with a lot of the publishers there, and they, for example, if you have a TV asset or anything like that, they've tried to find ways to make it more Facebook friendly. That means that they will either tweak the original content, or they will make a kind of scrappy new idea out of nothing into something quite cool. So they did this mindset segmentation, and the reason we want to do that is a lot of times what we see is if you enter the normal characteristics, you'll find that there are approximately 7 million UK gamers there. But when you talk to normal people, and when you will go to the tube in the UK, you see there are a lot more people playing games, there are a lot more people interacting. So what we wanted to find out, actually, how many of those gamers exist in our platform. And what we found out, what we used was the data that we have, so that we took like things like the comments on video about gaming. We took the different chatter and groups to find those data. We use that to get a better insight and create a better creative for different gamers. And what we essentially believe is that if you have a better creative that appeals to that different audience, you're going to have a bigger impact for your game. So you can see here that we have the current console gaming people and PC, which is around 7 million people in the UK. And those are recorded because they actually like Xbox, PS4, they like, I don't know, League of Legends, anything like that. Then we took the chatter around the top gaming videos and any other data like console interest, connected console. That was a really interesting one because approximately 30% of the people that had a connected console, they were not actually identified as gamers before. And what we found out is that there was 15 million people that play in the UK games. This is almost double what we expected. And then we create this console cluster where you can target, and it allows you to basically find similar people. But what we know is that not all gamers are the same, and you know it yourself. You play games, and it's like some people like action games, some people like FIFA, some people like strategy, adventure, anything like that. So what we try to do is we try to segment them, and this is a difference that we found out. You can see here some of the names are they were created by our creative shop team, so they're a bit interesting. So you have the Alpha Squad, which are the FIFA, the Call of Duty people that they really love to kind of display how much better they are than you. And usually they're like younger demographic. You have the Flashback Kings and the people that always use memes. You have the Lone Wolves, which are the people that they don't like to talk too much, they don't like to interact, but they still love playing games. You have the old school kind of household heroes that they buy for their kids. And this is kind of, they have children that are very interesting into gaming, and obviously the people that consume everything that's kind of mainstream. What we found out is that they kind of over-index. I'll give you an example. This is the Alpha Squad. So you can see the Alpha Squad is exactly what I normally hate when I play with people online. They are predominantly male, they're very young, they love to talk about football. They're very cheeky. If they can like go out while they're playing online because they're going to beat you, they do that. If there's any dodgy strategy, they will use that. And they have interest mostly in sports, in Call of Duty, League of Legends, Mortal Kombat, anything that's basically competitive and they try to beat you at. So this is an example. It doesn't show very well on the screen, but the typical comment would be anyone up for getting smashed on FIFA or PS4, something like that. But what we saw is it's very interesting how each segment has very different characteristics. Here you can see that they like the Loud Bible, they like Sky Sports, they like FIFA. While the Flashback heroes, they would like games like Crash Bandicoot, they would like games like Civilization, old school games. So you cannot really have the same message for every user. Not everyone is the same. And that's why categorizing your audience is really, really important to identify those differences and make sure that you approach them with the right strategy. This is an example of how we think of segmentation. So this is like the US audience, and you can see there are almost 49 million males that are 18 plus. So a lot of the times, if you want to have a big campaign, let's say your EA, your Activision, you will start there. You will start at the very beginning, targeting that young male population that plays FPS. Once you do that, you would move more to the segmented one. So if you have an Xbox game, you target the people that are 18 plus and are connected with Xbox One. And if you want to put another layer, you can also target people that are, let's say, 18 plus, connected to Xbox One, and they really love esports because you just released Overwatch. So this is kind of the targeting that Facebook allows you to do. You can find the exact user that appeals to you and appeals to your game. Now, before I joined Facebook, I didn't have much faith in creative. I thought I didn't think it made that much difference. I was coming from a performance background. I knew all about like SEO and things like that. And I was like, you just need to find the right algorithm and the creative, whatever. If they like it, it'll do its job. But working more with Creative Shop on a daily basis, I realized that it makes a huge difference how the gamers see those initial images and what impression you're going to make. And this is kind of the golden rules that we have when having videos on Facebook or images or anything like that. You need something that captures the attention very quickly. And the reason is, nowadays, most of the discovery and almost 90% of our usage is through this. So, when you scroll yourself, especially the younger audience, it's a lot faster how they scroll, and if they don't find it interesting in 1 millisecond, then they'll move along. So what is really important is to have something that captures the attention quickly, and that's something that is shockingly a lot of people don't get. You still see those old school TV commercials that they start with a big unknown of what's happening, and then after 30 seconds or a minute, they tell you that this is a car. So this doesn't work in mobile, and it's very specific because we are so quick in scrolling that we don't care anymore. If something doesn't capture us quickly, that's it. The second thing is we use our phone, and most of the times we use our phone without sound. So imagine having a TV commercial on your phone, and you have a nice person talking and narrating the story, and you actually miss everything. And then in the end, it appears something, and no one understood what happened. You need to think and you need to design your creatives with the idea of sound off, and the sound being a nice plus if someone is watching with sound. You need to frame your visual story. A lot of the times we don't use the same design as desktop. We don't use the same design as TV. And a lot of the times people just push their ads on Facebook and they just hope that somehow it'll magically appear. And sometimes important information is left out of the screen. And this is something that you definitely don't need to forget. And then the reason why I work in Facebook and the reason why I love is it because you know exactly the user and the user journey. Someone can see the initial ad on desktop, they can move to mobile, and then they can watch something on tablet, but we still know that it's the same user with that user ID that watched the first video. So using that to your advantage is something that is really important. What do we mean by that? Using ad sequencing. So you can have a generic ad initially where it shows the main thing, and then once you identify that user is an FPS enthusiast, you can serve the second ad and be sure that this person who saw the second ad and was very interested in the first one will see the exact sequence that you want him to. And now I need your participation, and I need you to be very, very careful. I don't know if it's going to work, because it depends on how fast the machine is. But this is our idea, that you don't need to watch an image for too long to identify it. So very quickly, what did you see? Very good. What color was it? Very good. And the background? Kind of like that. Yeah, very good. So what I want to show here is that actually the brain assimilates very quickly the information that you get. And the reason is because we're so used to our phones that we're like, okay, moving on, moving on. And we have a lot of, let's say not issues, but we have a lot of discussions with our agencies especially, that they're used to TV and they think that you need at least 30 seconds to understand a message. And we're like, no, that's actually not true. What we find out is true though, is the pace at which people scroll. So the younger the audience is, they scroll up to 3 times faster than an older person. So that's the only difference that it makes, is how fast you can scroll, because the information you assimilate is actually the same. And we go back now to what we think is important. You have the classic storytelling. So here you can see, this is like, think of it as time and 30 seconds. So you have this is how a TV ad would start at the beginning. It would start slowly. You would kind of get a mysterious message, someone driving in a forest, then moving on, and it would like take an amazing turn and the model will be happy, and then the main message would be like, our car is the fastest and this is it. But this is exactly the opposite of how mobile behavior is. If you think of mobile, you see something, and if it catches your attention, that's good, that's your attention span, and then it goes down. And actually from the studies that we had, it was quite interesting, because you know how we say that usually people think of kind of the goldfish and as it quickly changes its minds? So actually with the introduction of mobile phones, the image that humans have is actually smaller in time frame than a goldfish. So goldfish are actually good in their memory compared to us nowadays. So you can see the difference. And what we think is the ideal for Facebook is not the classic storytelling of the mobile, but it's the heartbeat storytelling. What is heartbeat storytelling? Is different microseconds that really matter to everyone. So now we're going to see an example of an ad that is a McDonald's ad in Brazil, and you can see here the difference. Normally there is a bit of sound as well. So you can see here they created different storylines. So the first one is kind of the men in black and people chasing, and then what they want to show is you always have time for a Mac drive-through. You always have time to quickly see what is happening. And then they had different sequences. Here they have some cheerleaders running from this guy, but he also stops for a McDonald's. And then they created all those like little micro moments, and whenever you see the ad, imagine if you're watching TV and you're scrolling down, and then you see this ad and you're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then they created all those different micro moments, and I'll explain what they did after. So here you can see there's the Carnival edition, there's the horror fans, there's the Men in Black kind of sci-fi, the old school medieval theme. So what they did after is it's as you can see, this is not high production value. It is from McDonald's, and you would expect something really expensive. But if you think about it, it's just a drive-through and different costumes that they drive around. So it's pretty scrappy for a company like that. But what they did is they created this whole video where it would capture attention, and then they segmented all the fans, and they were like, all right, so you like horror movies, here's the horror movie clip. You like sports, here's the sport version. So they created all those little micro moments that you would kind of remember. And if you saw the whole thing, no matter when you started, you would see that actually this works out pretty well every 5 seconds. Hopefully you got the idea. I'll go through it. All right, so you kind of identify your users and you know who they are, and you have those segmentation for FPS user, for action user. How do you move now? How do you engage with them? This is the solutions that we offer. A lot of the times I speak with developers, I speak with producers, and they're like, oh yeah, like it's great, but you don't give us enough freedom in terms of our creative because everything is in mobile, it's kind of limited, we don't know what to do. This is everything that we have around creative. If you want to explore, we have the canvas and the carousel. I'm going to see example after. If you want to go live and you want to do something really scrappy, whether you're in E3 or you want to reveal your new game, we have Facebook Live and we have Instagram Stories. And in terms of that, just to tell you, Instagram Stories are our fastest growing product ever. So we have, I think it was launched like 4 or 5 months ago as a product, and we have already 200, actually a year as a product, but then four months as a commercial product, and we have more than 250 million users. Just to give you an idea of the scale of this, it's bigger than Snapchat, which is our main competitor. So you can imagine like the scale that you get through our solutions. And then you have the reveal, you have a vertical video, you have cinemagraphs, you're going to see examples, and branded content. So we have a lot of different things. Whenever I hear comments that Facebook doesn't have enough formats, I think like, and I actually start talking to the developer or the publisher, I'm like, have you tried this or that? They usually are either not aware of it, or they think that it requires crazy amounts of work, which is not true. So this is how you break through your reveal in feed. So you can see here, it's like kind of moving a bit, but it's really easy. And the reason the Watch Dogs has so much about the reviews, I think, is because the first one it went well, but the reviews were not there. So that's why they put this kind of still image that moves a bit, capture your attention. This is from Prey as well. You can see how it works. It's a vertical video. It takes your whole screen. It's pretty dramatic. You kind of understand what it is about. It's an FPS. It appeals to different audiences. So it's something really, it's really interesting, but it also covers your whole screen, takes over, so people can pay actual attention to it. So those are two different formats. This is something that EA did for Instagram Stories. So while the E3 was happening, they gave kind of a discount to their gamers through Instagram Stories. So people were following IGN, GameSpot, anything like that, and then they were looking at different stories, and they saw the E3, and people that were interested in sports saw this ad. And then this is an example from Blizzard when they had the Gamescom, and they kind of broadcasted their presentation on live so people could watch. And this is, again, this is like has high production values, but if your page is verified, you can actually start it live right now. Please don't do it because I don't think I look that great, but here is the way you can do it. Something like, again, quite scrappy or quite high-end, but it really depends on you. This is, again, Canvas. So Canvas, you can see, it's a mobile solution, so it works, it takes over your mobile. You can scroll up and down, and you can see a video, then you can see another video, you can see images, it can connect to your store, and you can do 360 videos, anything like that. But the main thing is the way it works is super easy. If you have video assets and if you have image assets, all you need to do is you just need to upload them, and then Facebook will create that mechanism, that flow for you. So all the scrolling technique is it's our job to do. You just need to upload the video or the images, and then you can see the template and tweak it accordingly. So this looks like something super technically, let's say, advanced, but it's actually really, really easy to create. And this is Destiny, and I'm sure most of you hopefully know Destiny. It's kind of a very nice game that came out recently. It's what they did is here is like a typical carousel, but what they tweaked a lot is they tweaked a lot to who it was for. So if you're an esports fanatic, they had a lot of action. If you were an action fanatic, they kind of displayed the storyline around it. And they played around with differences to see and tested what works better. And this is a case study that we had with Destiny. So you can see here what they used. So they used captions. So you have like subtitles for people to understand what was going on if they didn't have their sound on. They had dialogue for characters that showcase the story of Destiny 2. And one of the reasons is because I think a lot of the feedback on the first game was the storyline. It was very good as a game, but the storyline there was not too much of a story. But now it's something that they did, and they showcase it to users that have played Destiny before. And then they use what we said, ad sequencing, so the user use the first video depending on their gamer profile. So their user segmentation, and accordingly they targeted. And if you want to see a bit of the results that we had, so people, we're going to talk a bit about how we measure this, but ad recall is basically people that have seen the ad on Facebook and how much increase that had. So because of that ad on Facebook, 35% of the people remembered it, while control group, people that haven't seen the ad, they've kind of forgotten about it. So that is really good in terms of if 35% out of 100 people remember you, that's a really good result because of the Facebook ad. There was an increase in brand preferability because people understood what the game was about and what the developer wanted to showcase. And there was a 14% increase in purchase intent. And I know this sounds a bit weird for people because they're like, how do you measure this? But we're going to show after exactly how we can measure this accurately. All right, this was not how the slide looked. Definitely not. So think of this like a bit prettier. So you can re-engage, and that's what I want to showcase, is exactly the different options that we have for re-engagement. So you can use lead ads, and it's something we used on the latest game of Epic Games. And basically, because Facebook knows exactly your email, knows your name, your surname, immediately when someone presses that button, it pre-fills everything. So my name is Konstantinos. It's a really tough name to write on mobile, and it takes ages to write. So with the Facebook technology, what it does, it autofills everything, so you have your lead ready for you. So if you have a game, it's just super easy to fill everything and pass through especially if you're opening up a beta or anything like that and you want new users, that's the way to do it. Canvas, you can see where people scrolled exactly, what video they watched, if they went to your shop, and retarget accordingly. Similarly here, you have a community. Most of you will have a Facebook page, so you can retarget accordingly and see the people who engage with any post or ad. People have clicked on anything on your page, you can retarget those users. Now, how do you amplify that? Once you find the right users, how do you amplify that and make sure that there are more people like you who find that? This is the differences that we have on our platform, and it's really easy. We have the accelerated delivery, which is basically on a very busy period, let's say Christmas holidays, everyone wants to be there, and delivery goes down for everyone. So how do you overcome that? It basically accelerates your delivery and reaches your total budget without taking the time into account. What is more interesting is this, and the reason why I really love this is because it's very simple to do. Is basically you just put your budget, so you say, let's say you have 5,000 or 10,000, or this is more like an EA type of budget, $137,000. So basically what it gives you this curve, and it's like, okay, I want to target people that live in the UK, that they love FPS, and I know, and the system says, okay, I know there are 4 million people that you can target within 2 weeks. So basically what you then tweak is like, okay, I want to reach them twice in this week. So immediately it tells you, okay, for 137,000, you can reach 20 million people. This will be your CPM, and this will be the frequency. So you can tweak it around and find out with your budget exactly how many times you can reach and exactly at what precision. And then the other thing that's really cool is we have so many platforms, but it's so easy to find users in the different platforms. What you just need to do is just check those boxes here, and basically whether it's an instant article, in-stream video, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or Messenger nowadays, you just need to click it, select your audience, and it will find it for you. And the great thing is, once you set your objectives, it will find the lowest cost for you wherever that user is. So it will use the same user ID to find the right user at the right price for you.